Hello, everyone. This is the Inner Voice Show, part of the Evolving Mind series in the Togetherness Media. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, psychotherapist and the founder of the Awareness Integration Theory. This is a show about what matters most in our life, our mind, our thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships, and our fulfillment in this beautiful journey of life. In this show, I'll share the tip of the week about love and how our expectations elevates or destroys or reduces our love. Then I will share with you how to trust your inner voice and intuition in the Ask Me segment. I'll bring you the latest research about intuition or tacit knowledge being difficult to measure, so it is often denigrated, but this study shows that there is a neurobiological explanation for how experience-based knowledge is created. So this study shows intuition, looks at intuition from an intuitive-based an experience-based knowledge. Then I'll bring you someone who's going to talk about intuition completely from another angle. I'll bring you Wendy De Rosa, author of Becoming an Empowered Empath, the founder of the School of Intuitive Studies. She's been helping empaths develop intuition and experience personal transformation for over 2 decades. Wendy is a popular faculty member at the Shift Network and has filmed 2 programs for Mind Valley Spiritual Growth Channel. But first, here's the tip of the week. Dr. Foojan Zeine here with the tip of the week. There's an interesting notion about love. Have you noticed we can love God, poetry, babies, pets, and perhaps even our shoes, I love my shoes, with the highest level of affection with no expectation. It can be personal and we can be attached, but there's no expectation of a return. It is a generous experience of warmth and connection that is assigned to someone or something or some category out there. As we assign the object of our affection out there, we create and generate pleasure for ourselves. We do this also at the beginning of our relationships with people and our mates. We assign good virtues and fantasy of greatness to them, and we enjoy our own experience within our sweet fantasy of experiencing love. So what happens in relationships when there are expectations of reciprocal actions from another person? Well, resentment, definitely. I've seen very religious people who had assigned only love to God to turn when it became personal after they got sick or lost someone near to them. The expectation was for God to return the favor, and when the protection was not offered, they got hurt and abandoned their belief. I also have been a witness to parents who raise their children with the hopes of a reciprocal affection. When their child does not do what they want them to do, they punish them harshly and they take away their love and kindness. In intimate relationships and marriages, the honeymoon phase can turn into a power struggle phase and divorce if love is not reciprocated in a particular way. So, is it the expectation that kills love? But don't we have to operate on some expectation within our relationships? Well, for sure. Every relationship operates based on some reciprocal transaction. The problem becomes when the relationship rules have not been talked about, addressed, nor negotiated. Most people operate from a bunch of preset rules and expectations that they assume the other party already knows and expected. Then there's a rude awakening. Whoops, the other person already had their own preset rules that they were holding us responsible for and are scolding us for not doing it their way. But wait. It was supposed to be my rules. I should be scolding them. Their audacity, right? Even when it comes to God, we form our beliefs and expectations based on our religious teachings. When God becomes personal, then we expect personal rewards or punishments. And if we were good and held our end of the bargain, well, then we expect personal care, even from God. Does this mean that love can only uphold if our expectations are fulfilled? Well, no. Love can be upheld no matter what if we stop attaching personal expectations to it. We can love with no attachment to the result. We can experience joy, respect, acceptance, kindness, good wishes for the others, regardless of their reciprocation. We can even choose not to be with someone in a particular relationship because we can't agree on the parameters of the relationship or what is expected of each other and continue to love them. We can get a divorce and choose to love our ex. We can choose to love our siblings, but not hang out. We can love our friends and not want to do business with them. Love is yours to experience freely with no attachment. You can choose to form attachments, form expectations, communicate your needs and desire, form structures, and get agreements as extra elements that are needed for a healthy relationship. So, love, because it's joyous, because it feels good, because it's your essence. Thank you. This is Dr. Foojan Zeine, and this is the Ask Me segment. This is where you ask me a question about yourself. And here's my chance to share with you. So the question is, when I have an intuition that shows up for me, I have a hunch. For example, in a relationship, I have a hunch about what the other person's intention might be, or the other person wants something from me, or the way that their communication is, it seems like they're manipulating me. Or I have dreams about something and I'm like, I know it, but how can I trust it? Because sometimes I've gone to the place of thinking that I know it, and definitely that's the truth. But when I went in and checked, it wasn't. So how can I trust my intuition? Well, how can you trust your intuition? Intuition is an information that shows up for you. Now, some people think that this intuition is an information that shows up from outside of ourselves and not inside of ourselves. And we could really look at that. And there's also information that shows up based on your own knowledge. So for example, because you are with a person, because of the history you've had with a person, because of your own fears or your wishes, or when you are with them and you're kind of like, you're really fast-paced analyzing their way of their body language, their way of putting the information together, or the way they're talking to you. So you're projecting and assuming a lot of different things about that person also. Now, these assumptions and projections can be intuitive because you've gained the information and it is inside of you, or it could be that it is your assumption and your projection. And that based on your own past history, based on your traumas, based on the things you've known, that you might have a negative concept about it. So that you would look at them and you would assume that they don't like you or they want to manipulate you, and you'll go into this hypervigilant place in yourself where you want to protect yourself. And you have every right. So whether this information shows up as an intuitive concept, as if it's your sixth sense that is getting the information from externally, an outside source, or that you're getting this information because you're observing something, but it's happening so fast that this observation does not appear like you're going through a conscious observation, but that is because of all the data that you're consistently getting and based on your own history with that person. Or these type of scenarios, for example, in work scenarios or in relationship scenarios, or the past history that you have, you're coming up with some, assumptions. Well, how can you trust it? Maybe do reality check. Maybe ask other people if they see the same thing about the other person. Maybe ask the other person themselves. This is somehow, a feeling that I have, a hunch that I have. Is that true? And let them know that this is only an experience that you're having, and you're attempting to do a reality check with them, because if you wanted to act and create another like layer of a bond with them, you want to go into partnership with them, you want to do some sort of a transaction, that you need to be able to do reality check with people to find out what the basis is. If you're feeling threatened by a person, where your hunch and your intuition is saying, be careful, then you might want to protect yourself and have those types of conversation. Maybe it's how to formulate your questions toward them. Maybe it's ask about them from the relatives and families and other people at work in order to gain more information that are more like objectively out there for you, as if you need some evidence. And then having those types of evidence in combination of your emotions and feelings, then bring them together and see how is it that you can move forward, be clear with communication and intention, and find your space where your internal process with the external process kind of matches, so you can trust what shows up internally to match what the relationship looks like externally. If you have some intuitions that show up for you, but they're not coming through externally, you have a hunch about something where you thought, oh my God, this person is upset with me, or they don't like me, or they want to manipulate me. And then you go in and that's just not the case. I would suggest for you to look at internal processes. What's going on? Where your fears are coming? Are there still traumas or issues that you haven't really handled from your past, and it keeps coming up? In order to do a knock, you got to take care of me, because I'm going to see the world through the filter and through the eyes that the world is going to harm me or is not going to be a safe place for me. So it's important for you to listen to the voice that is coming from inside of you, whether it is through a sixth sense, that is an information showing up, if it's through some of the neuroses you have because of unfinished businesses that you've had from the past, you haven't cleared up. So the voice is constantly coming to tell you, I need to be taken care of. So listen to it and trust it. After you trust that, now you need to also match it with the reality out there. And that happens with your clear intention and communication. Ask the right questions, observe in a way that you can get the answers to your questions. Go to the source, go to the person that you have these objections or assumptions or projections to. Ask them the questions that you need in order to fulfill the need that you have. And if you're still feeling feeling not safe with the other people, make sure that in your interactions and transactions, you do the things to protect yourself if you still need to have those type of interactions with that particular person. If you don't need to, and there are people who are just like, I just can't feel safe, and if you don't need to be in that relationship, then you might want to look at maybe not being in that relationship if it's a relationship that keeps making you feeling unsafe. If you feel unsafe with most of people, then you need to take care of yourself and find ways of feeling the power from inside and feeling the safety from inside, and learning ways to set boundaries with people, with your communication and your strength. So trust yourself and learn the boundaries and learn skills in how to take care of yourself all the time. Thank you. Well, here's the research about intuition or tacit knowledge. It's difficult to measure, so it is often denigrated. A new dissertation in education research done in the Linköping University in Sweden shows that there is a neurobiological explanation for how experience-based knowledge is created. In studies from the 1980s on nurses, it was shown that those who had been in the profession for a long time saw more and made better judgments more quickly. It was referred to as an intuitive ability. In the 1990s, similar studies were done on physicians and business people with similar results. The fact that people with a long experience are often better at what they do, the practice makes perfect, is nothing new. But no good explanations have been put forward as to why this is the case. A few years ago, neuroscientists discovered that the human brain has dual system for receiving and analyzing sensory impressions, one conscious and one unconscious. In the unconscious, that is the non-declarative system, our sensory impressions are compared with previously stored images. We all have an inner picture book of stored experiences based on what has happened to us previously in life. We also remember the outcome. Did it end well or badly? With the aid of these stored sensory impressions, we unconsciously assess the situation at hand and can predict the outcomes. This capacity is especially helpful in complex and information-rich situations with a great deal of noise. The more variations of the situation we have experienced, the richer our picture book will be, and the more probable it will be that we recognize the situation at hand. It can be a matter of smell, gesture, and ineffable combination of impressions that makes what we call intuition tell us something. We have a memory that needs to be filled up with the sensory impressions. However, these memories are stored only if they affect us emotionally. In other words, for experience to be built up, there must be a commitment. This means that we can never read or calculate our way to all knowledge and abilities we need in our professional life. Practical experiences is indispensable and needs to be reevaluated. An uncertified teacher with 10 years of experience in the profession can be a much better teacher, maybe assuming that this person is committed to their job, than a newly certified teacher, no matter how knowledgeable he or she is in terms of subject matter knowledge. Now, researchers also argue that components involving practice and lab work need to be expanded rather than cut in professional programs for engineers, teachers, and physicians. We need to see, feel, smell, hear, taste, and experience with our senses. This collection of data can't be replaced by studying course literature. Experience is under-evaluated, and this is perhaps because we haven't understood this type of tacit knowledge. Now we know, thanks to our brain researchers. So this research in Sweden pretty much looks at this as we gather data, we have it inside, and the more that we gather data with all of our 5 senses and they're stored, obviously we can, our brain projects, and that type of projection, as it has all of the data and the memory together, it shows up to us as information that is coming to us, not only because we see it, but it's because in our memory and the way that our brain works, that the information shows up. That's one way of looking at it. And we're going to look at intuition from all different perspectives. So don't go anywhere. Hello, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and I'm a psychotherapist and a life coach. If you are experiencing anxiety, depression, loneliness, isolation, fear of what's going on with all that's going on in the globe with the coronavirus, what's going to happen to you if you've lost your job and you have a lot of anxiety and you don't know what's going to happen to you and your family, if your kids are at home and you're not used to it and you have no idea how to handle them, if you're working from home and all the structures have changed and you don't really know how to concentrate and restructure and motivate yourself, I'm here for you. Call me and let's have online therapy for anyone who's in California and online coaching for anyone who's in the world. Go to my website, foojan.com, Foojan.com, and let me be a support to you through online therapy and coaching. I'll be looking forward to hearing from you and being a support to you.
Togetherness Media. Togethernessmedia.com